Hello, SoulNet friends.
Welcome, SoulNet listeners.
Hello, SoulNet friends.
We are celebrating our second birthday here at SoulNet. Join us as we gather in person to reflect on our favorite episodes and share some of what's to come in season 3.
So we're here in beautiful Port Moody, British Columbia, for our second anniversary.
We wanted to share some of our favorite moments that have happened this year on the podcast. So, Dana, do you want to kick us off with your favorite moment, your favorite episode?
I have to say, one of the most profound pieces that really landed for me was a recent guest that we had on by the name of Shirley Weir. And one of her taglines, she's got a couple of really great ones, but was, "You deserve to feel amazing." And I wrote that down when we were in the recording session with her. And it sits on my desk. And it is such a beautiful reminder to myself that I deserve to feel amazing. And we all do.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
I saw you write it down. I saw that make an impact on you. Yeah. I saw how it made an impact.
It was a real gift for sure.
Oh, that's nice. And shout out to Shirley Weir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're in Port Moody, right?
Yeah, we're in
Shirley.
It's your hometown right now. That's so beautiful.
And go ahead, Meg.
I was going to say, so one of my favorite moments from our year was the learning about trainer marriages or like first time, what is it? Like trainer husbands. Like I've only been married once, but I waited to get married. So I feel like I put in some training with some boyfriends.
Heavy lifting.
Yeah, heavy lifting. So I really get that. If I had married one of my boyfriends from in my 20s, that would have been my trainer marriage or my trainer husband.
Test driving a few cars.
And so I just thought that was really interesting because I think that it was fun and to think about, but also just speaks to where we're at in our 20s versus our 30s. And as you know, our listeners are hearing our menopause series, which is underway. And one of the things that I read in a menopause book called Wise Power from the women at the Red School was about, these different seasons. Mm-hmm. And our 20s I think they refer to it as the spring. And it's when you're like all in blossom and bloom and like, you're like, you're hungry. You're just like, give me that sunshine. and then you go in your 30s and it's your summer and you really you're rooted. And so I got married in my 30s. So I think, if we think of that season, I was more rooted and grounded in myself. And so then I felt ready for marriage. And then in your 40s, I think they refer to it as your autumn. And then in your 50s, which is when you're in menopause, it's your winter and you go into hibernation and you become amazing. But you don't, apparently you have a second spring at the end. So that's the good news.
Looking forward to that
when
it happens.
The end is the second spring. And I hope we just blossom with all of our, tips from our vagina coaches and our Shirley Weirs and all of our naturopaths,
wisdom,
all the wisdom and the creams that we're going to investigate. So
I'll be first in line for that. DHA me, baby.
So I feel like that was just one of my highlight moments was learning about or thinking about the trainer relationships.
The trainer relationships are good for those seasons. Like I see, our kids are similar age where they're in their spring, and I have boys and stepdaughters, so I can see kind of the playing out with the different genders of the biological urges that are there underlying even what we may intellectually say, oh, I don't want to have children, or there's still urges that drive our behaviors and our choices and our desires. And that's fascinating to watch because in my 20s, I my partner and I have said in our 20s we might not have been attracted to each other because similar to what you shared, Meg, I was going for tall guys. My dad was tall. Now I'm for tall guys. Dario's the same height as me. But now I'm so attracted to him because of the, like you said, the maturity, the attunement, emotional attunement, which I'd never had in a relationship before to the degree that I have now. So all those previous training relationships kind of trained me to lift the heavy weights of emotional attunement and secure attachment now. And that has a joy to it that my previous relationships didn't have. So it is like they say mature love is like a slow burn versus the
Mhm.
passion of our
Yeah.
20s and 30s is very often a trauma bond. At least
Oh my
mine
God.
was,
Me
right?
too.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
and
Me
Yeah. Yeah.
too.
repetitions of our childhood patterns, all that, oh, like
Yep.
unconsciously you recognize that you're like, oh, I'll date my mother, I'll date my father,
Oh my
and I'm going to
gosh.
complete whatever incomplete karmic loop I have yet to learn and, you know, evolve
Oh
my
my
soul.
gosh.
What have I
What have I
done?
done? And I've procreated and created children. And so this is now a lifelong relationship,
Yes.
lifelong
I
lesson,
know.
right?
Lifelong lesson.
Oh my
It
Life
goodness.
is
lessons.
it is fascinating too when we get to this, when our kids are, well, so my son is now at the similar age to my husband that I was married when how old we were. And so he still lives at home or came home after, COVID years in university. And the things that I see in him now that remind me of his father, it's like, oh,
I
that's
know. I
the reason we
know.
divorced, but you're
Ah,
my child, not my husband. I can't
Yeah,
do
the
I
lesson's right
know.
there.
So true. Oh my
It's right there.
Oh,
gosh.
it's so hard. It's
It's,
Yes.
like,
Yep.
yeah.
I
Totally.
know, because you really have to separate that your relationship with his father and see he's his own individual, right? So you really have to like not attach any of your experience and your feelings to your relationship with your son.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I just want to say, like, single mamas out there, like doing it. And single parent, like
Yeah,
single
parents.
Parents in
Yeah.
single
general, yeah.
parents that are caring for their kids and, and moving along, right. Past that trainer marriage. I just give you so much credit because it's hard even for me. I mean, I'm married to my baby daddy, right?
Yeah.
The daddy to my babies. And I still look at them sometimes and I see the parts of my husband that drive me insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even for all of the relationships, right? Our
Well,
kids.
what I notice is that these triggers, I guess we could call them, that remind us of things that are incomplete for ourselves. We're in relationship with like diversity, even with our kids. Our kids represent different kinds of experiences that are maybe different from our priorities. And so if I see something in my child that reminds me of when I used to not prioritize myself, I think that's what the biggest trigger is for me, is when I sacrificed myself for um, another family. And it was this kind of like 2 decades of slowly losing myself. And that's not my child's fault. It's just my own past and a reminder of my self abandonment in the past. So it's like I have this mirror here always reminding me, choose yourself, Eileen, choose
Ah,
yourself.
Oh,
And that
lovely.
wasn't normal for me to choose myself back in the
right,
day.
right.
So in a way, it's like, oh, thank you, trigger, to remind me of where my Achilles heel is, where this tendency I have of self abandonment is. And it's so, it's like that. It's the edge of discomfort for me to be in that zone, to like express where I'm uncomfortable and choose myself. So
Right.
this is my work, my
Yeah.
spiritual
Yeah.
work. It's like right there every day. And and then it takes it like off it makes it less personal. Yeah, it's like more like, oh, right, lesson, reminder, reminder. And then I can remember, oh, right, this is just reminding me of a past moment. And right now I'm with this human being who's almost completely individuated from me. Almost, they're getting there.
Yeah.
It's a gradient. It's a
Yeah,
spectrum.
it is, it is, it
It's
is.
taken a little longer
Than we expected.
Like, how much longer?
I think we're just constantly realizing that, that I think my kids are also my teachers in that way, that to be in relationship with anyone is to be in, to just see them for who they are.
Yes.
Right. And
Yeah.
not attach what you want them to be, what you expect.
100%.
So
that's our biggest lesson as
it's
parents.
our biggest
Yeah,
lesson as
absolutely.
parents.
Yeah. Mhm.
And also it's been so helpful in a lot of relationships, I think it really has helped me to become a better listener, because I just feel like I want to listen, because I realize now that every person is an individual, that every person has their own unique story and experience to get there, and their thoughts, and that, do we really know everything? Do we really, is there only one truth? We know that's not true, right? We only know our own. So I think that it's such a beautiful way to look at all relationships, right? That's how I see with my kids. They've taught me that. So what was one of your favorite moments from the season? One of your favorite episodes?
I was actually reflecting on that, and I would say more it's a theme. My favorite theme has been, because I couldn't really find a moment, but what I've really appreciated the most in our coming together is the ability to look at the different chapters of my life with you guys, with a lens that is like, because we have a history together since high school, I've been able to bring that lens into my 20s, see my spring, understand it, understand the choices and my behaviors, and then 30s and 40s and 50s now. If I was navigating this perimenopause and menopause journey on my own, because I don't have siblings, right? And my family, my cousins are quite a bit older than me, so I'm the only one my age in my family, so to speak. If I had been navigating it alone, I think I would have felt a lot more lonely. But the ability to normalize all the symptoms, I know that's not a great word to use, because it's not like menopause is a disease.
No,
But it's just
exactly. Yeah.
that this stressful society and me, like, kind of reinventing myself financially in midlife, it's a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. So my hormones got really, and I'm caregiver for my mom, so my hormones got really dysregulated in this past couple years. So I would say perimenopause was very roller coastery and chaotic in my system. And if I didn't have you guys as a community and learning all this, it would have been a lot harder. So this has been such a great place and soft, loving place to land and be like educating myself and sharing it with my friends, because a lot of my friends who are my age don't have access to the resources as well. We're just super busy.
Right.
We're working. I mean, there's just a lot of pressure. And when you're under that kind of pressure, we would like to take care of ourselves, but we just can't sometimes. And it's not that we don't want to. There's a tremendous amount of burden and responsibility on our shoulders. So I always feel like this is a place of rejuvenating for me. So that's the theme for me. It's many moments that have
Many moments.
that have been rejuvenating and like a loving place to land, which is really needed for my system. Yeah.
I love that. That's beautiful. I hope our listeners feel that same way. I mean, that was part of our intention of coming together, was about, honest conversations in community. I don't know about you guys, but like, I go back into our library. We have an amazing group of episodes that are up there that talk about so much real hard stuff. And so if I'm having a hard time with something that we've covered, I will put my headphones in and I will be the listener.
Yes, I do too.
To both of you, and even to some of my own words where I'm like, who said that?
You're like, yes, Dana, bring it in. I love it.
No, but it's true, because, this is what's beautiful about it, is like having friends. Like, we are the friends, but for our listeners, I hope that you consider us your friends too, and that we're at your table. But I also do the same thing. And I just recently did that. It was American Thanksgiving. And I thought it would be fun to repost our gratitude episode. And Dana, you led that one. And I was listening to it and I was like, oh my God. I just thought, it's on theme. It's on theme. So we'll reshare it. And I listened to it before I reshared it. And it just landed for me. Like I really felt it. I love gratitude. I know that we all are very grateful for each other, for the opportunities that we have, for the privilege that we have. But I think that there are times where gratitude just, like we get overburdened and overwhelmed. And so gratitude kind of takes a back seat. And it was one of those moments. And I was so grateful because I picked up those nuggets and I just carried myself differently. Because you spoke about, Eilina loved it too in the episode because Dana spoke about a moment where she was having a day and she was on her bike and she was like late or it was raining or I don't know, she was whatever it was. And then you were going through the things that you actually are grateful for so that you didn't arrive to work feeling like, fuck the world. I hate everybody, because we do that, right? We get into these moments where it's like, I mean, you literally, right now I get out, I feel like I've run a marathon and I've just dropped my kids off.
Every day is a process of remembering and forgetting, remembering and forgetting, remembering and forgetting. And so when we listen to our own shares, it's like we have the synergy of this collective wisdom. And it's like, oh, yeah. And especially for myself, I can speak from my experience. Brain fog is a real thing for me every day now. So I forget so much. And so I'll listen to an episode and be like, oh, yeah, that lived experience has so much wisdom. So there's that legacy piece. Because it feels like, we're all a universe to ourselves. And so when we share this wisdom, it's really everyone's wisdom.
I know.
It belongs to everyone. And as they listen, they have their insights and they can share with their intimate people. And if we can just keep, pollinating these connections.
Sometimes I leave our conversations and think, I didn't even know I needed to know that, but I needed to know that.
Right?
So thank you guys for all of those moments because I too have really learned here in this community.
Mm-hmm. So beautiful. In our next episode of SoulNet Podcast, we welcome the vagina coach, Kim Vopni, to the pod. This is part of our special menopause series, but no matter what your age, if you have a vagina or are supporting someone who does, you won't want to miss this one.